Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Bud Crawford is looking huge these days. Is he thinking about going to 154? Article by Don Moore, an interesting article, and this is what it says and reads. He says, Terence Crawford is really looking bulked up for 4 months after his successful title defense against Kell Brook on November 14th. With the size that Crawford has packed on in just 4 months, he's either power feeding to bulk up to 154 or he's really letting himself go. The WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade was surprised how big Crawford looked when the two stood side by side during the Canelo versus Anvir Durham fight 2 weeks ago. Andrade told Crawford that he looks like a middleweight right now, and he's right. That might be a good division for Crawford if he wants to expand his horizons and make big fighting bank at 160 against Gennady Golovkin, Jermell Charlo, or Ryota Murata. Forget about 147. Crawford has a ton of options at 154 and 160. That's really where Crawford should have been a long time ago because he's being avoided like the plague by his fighters on the PBC. And it's like been for that for years. Now, Crawford looked more stout than Andrade, who fights at 160, and it seems clear that the Nebraska native has been eating well and hitting the weights. There's the talk that Crawford could be moving up to fight Jermell Charlo for a possible target. Crawford's promoter Bob Arum said this week that he got 2 options for the next fight, and he's looking at Manny Pacquiao as the plan A and Sean Porter as the plan B. Now, let me counterpunch. Terence Crawford, first of all, if anybody knows anything about boxing, walking around weight is a lot different than your fighting weight. Okay. For those who basically stay around their fighting weight, that means they're fighting at a weight class that they really supposed to be at. Because a lot of guys are 180, 190, and then they come down to 135, like Adrian Broner was. Adrian Broner was looked like a fat kid. You know, he looked like a guy that loves to, that didn't really know the gym at all from the pictures that you saw. He was just this fat guy. But, you know, genetics is a mother sucker, okay? Because at the end of the day, you know, a lot of times you can't help who's in your family, but, you know, you can only treat certain genetic things like diabetes, heart disease, obesity, those things like that. But if it's already in your genes, what can you do about it? Now, as far as Terence Bud Crawford looking really bulked up, I never seen Terence Crawford fat. But this is no surprise to me. Why? Because Terence Crawford was walking around at 180 at one point. And this was like a couple years ago. And matter of fact, I think this was before or either before or right when he left 140. So no, this is not a big deal to me. And on top of that, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade looked small. So I think people should realize how small Boo Boo Andrade looked compared to those welterweights. Because Danny Garcia, if you looked at Danny Garcia, he looked a lot bigger than Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade looked skinny and slim. I thought he was a lot bigger than that. But obviously not, you know. So that's one guy that's naturally lean versus another guys that probably they fight outside of their weight, natural weight anyway, which a lot of fighters do. Arturo Gatti came in at 160 when he made the weight of 140, and within a day he packed on 20 pounds of weight, water weight. Okay, so that's natural, okay, for Terence Crawford to look the way he looks. He didn't look bad to me. I mean, he did look big, but going from 154 to 160 just because of an appearance at a boxing match out of training, no. I don't think that's nothing to really raise an eyebrow about. You know, it'd be different if he had a double chin or he just looked like he was far gone, but no. 154 with Jermell Charlo, I mean, that would be a good fighter or whatever, but I think he has things to do at 147. 154 is a totally different ballpark. But if he's going after Charlo, if that's a target, what's the difference between 157 and 147 and 154? If he's not going to get the fights at 147, how is he going to get the fights at 154? Because it's always going to run into some type of, oh, no, man, that ain't enough money. No, man, you lowballing me just trying to, man, I'm not trying to, all that shit. That's what you're going to run into with the PBC. Because they claim to get paid so much money under the table or however it works. I don't know. But they supposedly get paid more than any other promotional company. And they have problems working with any other promotional company most of the time. Okay, so yeah, Terence Crawford would run into that headache up there too. So 150 going to 154, I don't think will be any different. They might spoon feed him someone like Lara, which is too old now. He's 38, damn near 40. You know what I mean? He's in my age bracket, so why are we, he'll probably get a fight like that. But Jermell Charlo, I doubt it. Jermell Charlo will want too much money. I think him and Derek James, they would demand too much money. And then that's the same trainer. So you'd run into the same problem. Some trainer preaching the same thing that he preached to his other fighter, Errol Spence. So no, that's a stupid idea. Okay? Let's just forget about Jermell Charlo at 154. Let's worry about Manny Pacquiao, getting him out of there if you can. Because Pacquiao, as long as the last we seen, was still the man and could still fight. Even though that's damn near been 2 years. However, it is what it is. Okay? I think Terence Crawford is at a good size. I think that he puts on some weight. I think he's not afraid of food, but I don't think he overindulges. So it is what it is with Terence Crawford. And I mean, then I think the last time, did he have a child recently? That puts on weight by itself. So, it's called life. But as far as that goes, I don't think that Terence Crawford looks overly big. Yeah, he's bigger than he is because his walking around weight is probably about 160. That's just natural at the end of the day. But no, absolutely not. I think he should continue at 147, get a Porter fight or a Pacquiao fight. I think that's the next step for Terence Crawford. I don't believe he should be at 154. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Terence Crawford's bulking weight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.